Hello there, my YouTube chums. Today you find me playing Galaga, a coin-operated video game designed and released by Namco in 1981. It's a sort of sequel to Galaxian, also by Namco, which was released a couple of years before. For me, this is by far the superior game. It's faster and far more varied than Galaxian. You really have to watch out though, because those artful aliens will try to capture your starfighters in their terrifying tractor beam. But, and this is an inspired little innovation, if you time your shots correctly, you can capture your starfighters right back and join them together for double the firepower. Brilliant! Battling these invaders from space reminds me of something that happened just a short while ago. It all started one long, hot summer's afternoon. Arabella, Bunty, Winston the cat and myself were relaxing in the gazebo in the gardens of Fortescue Towers. Winston was sprawling in his hammock with one leg dangling nonchalantly over one side. We were lulled into a pleasant reverie by the sounds of leather on willow drifting across from the village green, the chinks of ice cubes in our G&Ts, and Winston's hypnotic purring. Our peace was interrupted by the noise of tyres crunching on gravel. It turned out to be an imposing, blacked-out vehicle, from which emerged a dark-suited, important-looking gentleman. He approached the gazebo. "Lord and Lady Fortescue, Mr. Bunty Norris?" We answered in the affirmative. "I am from Her Majesty's Government. My name is Agent Johnson. The service has reason to believe that we may be being watched by an intelligence far greater than our own." "I knew it!" declared Bunty. "Yes, Mr. Norris, we are aware of your interest in extraterrestrials, and even your membership of the local Spaced Out Society, and the special badge you designed." If it were possible to squeak silently with pride, that's what Bunty did in that moment. "Thank you. I thought a rocket and thumbs up logo says it all." "Indeed. Our American friends recently took possession of an article which fell to earth in the desert of New Mexico. The Americans are calling this article a weather balloon." Bunty gasped. "But which is really an alien spacecraft?" The man from Her Majesty's Government made no response to this, but went on. "And now we suspect that there may be similar weather balloons taking, let's say, atmospheric readings above this part of England." We could barely process this information. Alien craft could be circling Fortescue Towers at this very moment. Or weather balloons could. It was very difficult to discern if the inscrutable Agent Johnson was using an elaborate euphemism or talking about actual weather balloons. "In light of your credentials, we are aware of your joint involvement in the test rocket program, along with the ideal positioning and, if necessary, storage capacities of Fortescue Towers. We would like you to be our eyes and ears. The security of Great Britain, indeed the world, is depending on you. Of course, this business falls under United Kingdom laws concerning privacy, secrecy, discretion, clandestineness, concealment, plausible deniability, and keeping the truth back from the public for their own good." I don't mind admitting we were all baffled. Well, all except Arabella. "Oh, you mean it's hush-hush?" "Yes, Lady Fortescue. It's hush-hush." Our conversation was interrupted by a swooshing sound from above. "They're here!" gasped Bunty. "No, Mr. Norris. That is the sound of a military helicopter winching surveillance equipment onto the roof of Fortescue Towers. Telescopes, sonic listening horns, sensitive seismographs, etc." Our mission was this. We, that is myself, Bunty and Arabella, were to watch the skies from the rooftop of Fortescue Towers. We were given a special telephone from which to call military intelligence if we saw any UFOs. We knew it was a special telephone because it was in a red box. It was red and lit up. Red. And so it began on that balmy summer's night. We set up our observatory and were fortified by flasks of tea and Madeira cake. For the first few hours, there was nothing other than the familiar sights and sounds to which we had become accustomed. The occasional car on nearby roads, wad pigeons cooing to their mates, revellers at turfing out time and the puzzled peacock, and Winston playing cat and mouse with the lens caps at our feet. Then, just as we were all starting to suspect that our vigilance might have been for naught, there they were, lights in the sky, flashing steadily. This was no plane. It was too low. It was too quiet, and the lights were in the wrong formation. No, this had to be a craft of alien origin. Winston froze, and our jaws dropped as one. "It's coming down at Fortescue Forest," yelped Bunty. "In the vicinity of Dead Man's Copse," added Arabella. We watched until the lights finally disappeared into the darkened thicket. We glanced at the telephone, and then at each other. The aliens could have invaded by the time Agent Johnson arrived. No, it was down to us to thwart them. It seemed to take an age for us to reach the clearing. The trees had taken on an eerie quality, bathed in the strange light that was being emitted from what had to be the alien craft. Using the trees as cover, we crept closer until the craft came into view. Although it looked alien, at the same time there was a puzzling familiarity about certain aspects of its construction. There was what appeared to be a broken parasol, a rusty garden spade, and several feather shuttlecocks. "Look!" Bunty was unable to keep the quiver out of his voice. Suddenly, Winston launched himself vertically into the arms of Arabella as Bunty pointed to the craft's undercarriage. We watched, petrified yet mesmerized, as what can only be described as a long, withered tentacle slithered out from underneath. We feared for our lives as its head slowly emerged and it struggled to push itself upright. Then a blood-curdling spluttering as it tried to speak. Was it using its superior intellect to communicate? "Evening, all! I see you've met my drone." The alien of superior intellect was none other than our old sports and science master, Monty Milburn. An excited Bunty piped up. "Are you an extraterrestrial clone of Mr. Milburn, sir? Are you here as the spearhead of an alien invasion, hoping to infiltrate the human race through mimicry before enslaving us all? There can be no other rational explanation. That's why you've landed in a so-called drone." There was no faulting Bunty's logic. We waited a response. "Never heard anything so daft in all my life, Bunty. No, I've been and gone and built myself a supersized, souped-up drone. I modified a standard model with bits and bobs I had lying around in the garage to bulk it up a bit, see? I like to try and keep my hand in with technology and science, keep my finger on the pulse, so to speak. My downfall was putting the controller down so as to have a nip of flack as ruin. Lost my bearings afterwards, and it came down clean on top of me." And so, our adventure of watching the skies came to a crashing end. No alien spacecraft, no threat to humanity, not even a weather balloon, just a somewhat dishevelled Monty Milburn. We all made our way back to the gazebo for an early breakfast of tea, toast and marmalade, and watched the sun rise over Fortescue Towers as Winston played cat and mouse with a shuttlecock. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like me, tell your friends. Until next time, this is Lord Fortescue saying toodle pipsy and watch the skies, my YouTube chums.